And good morning, Raymond. Good morning, Raymond.
Good morning.
Sorry, I was trying to match.
You were trying to match
Raymond's good morning
energy. Raymond gets his energy from special places, the facts and figures. So
right.
yeah, you'd have to drink from his waters to do that. But how are we all doing this morning?
Oh, I'm fine.
We're really excited. I wish I was in Germany this morning.
Why?
Because one of the biggest chocolate factories in Germany had a spill, and so they spilled liquid chocolate onto the streets of Germany. And so it would have been nice to just pitch a tent by the roadside and just, be dipping my fingers in free chocolate and
as disturbing as it is to listen to the combination of chocolate mixed with whatever is used to make the road.
No, you don't eat that from the under. You just do the top.
I understand. And the second thing is about what it means for the factory. Do you remember when the Bible said the streets of Israel are flowing with milk and honey?
Yeah.
God should have added chocolate.
It sounds a little bit messy though, milk and honey. But the factory also said that they're happy that this didn't happen as close to Christmas, because then there would have been a real problem in terms of shortage. So they're going to be shut down until Wednesday. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name. It's a German name. I will not attempt. I'm sorry, I will not.
But you tried.
Yes,
which part of Germany though?
It's Butenten, something like this.
Okay, so a Ningwa and the German names, a German factory in a German city. Yes.
And a German street.
But let's come back to Ghana and look at what our front pages are saying.
Okay, in the Business and Financial Times, BOG could cut interest rates by March. That's according to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Addison. Government eyes aviation gateway as Ghana signs deals with Canada. ATAL State Enterprises Commission to become authority and use electronic payments to beat traffic this Yuletide.
Now, the New Crusading Guide is reporting this morning, Truth Movement crashes as NPP sets record straight, and that's on the front page of the New Crusading Guide. Yesterday press conference versus press conference, NPP, NDC. I'm told that the NDC zone was leaked. And I'll bring you that story later on.
So if the Ayawaso West is the Game of Thrones, this is what the War of Words.
Yes, and the court orders GT Bank to cough up missing $550,000 to aggrieved client. That's also on the front page of the New Crusading Guide.
On the back page of the Times, the Ghanaian Times, Minister for Youth and Sports Isaac Isiama has said that Ghana is ready to host the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Work progresses on multi-purpose sports facilities. On the front page of the Ghanaian Times, Ghana is preferred investment destination. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. IOCO retrieves 51 million Ghana cedis from tax evaders. Supports growth development of African continent. Vice President urges people of African descent. And one that should interest you very much, House resumes work on the RTI bill.
Now, the Daily Guide is reporting this morning, Ghana is poised for transformation. This is the President of the Republic of Ghana speaking. And Kufuor also is on the front page here. IMF chief lands in Ghana, and Shaltosei denies NDC tag. She says, I'm not contesting. Not today, not tomorrow. I haven't conceived of the idea. I have no plans of doing so. But she didn't add a yet. This is emphatic.
So this is not like
not like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, where she said no, not yet.
Yes.
But that's for this one. She said not at all.
Not at all.
Not
please,
ever.
Please.
All right.
Please don't put me there.
We hear you.
Yeah, so disregard the fly will be seen around.
On the front page of the Daily Statesman, Akufo-Addo sells Ghana to Japanese investors. Drones mean so much more than politics. NPP kills NDC propaganda. We've done more in 2 years than your 8. That's according to the NPP National Youth Organizer. Baumia saying that Africa and the diaspora must collaborate more.
Now, Daily Graphic is reporting this morning, Yoko retrieves 51 million in taxes from private companies, institutions, and individuals. We hope this time around they'll report the money as retrieved. Now, also on the front page, Ghana poised for significant transformation is also here. There's a story about inflation now 9.3%. I'll give you the details later on.
And finally, from me on the front page of the Business Finder, Ghana poised for massive transformation. That's according to the president. Ghana loses $25 million yearly to unfinished projects. GMA and government agree to further consultations on drones projects.
Now, the Chronicle is reporting this morning, students arrest matron for stealing food. I'll give you the details later on. And a moment of truth is on the front page, but it says NDC reached journalist Facebook post. So before the press conference, the journalist put that on the Facebook. Apparently, the statement was going to be read linked. Then they say, my brother, so the guy tagged Sabi Jefi and said, the communication director of the NDC, and said, my brother, I'm told you're going to read my statement. Please, this is plagiarism.
It can only come from the Chronicle, can't it? Anima, we need that RTI bill. How far have we come on that?
Okay, so I'm going to start with this one by reading a Facebook post by.
So you
lawyer.
are also reading the Facebook post?
Yes.
It must
It's
be,
not
it must
just
be
the
a new
NGC,
thing.
yes.
It must be a new thing now.
By lawyer, comrade, fighter in arms, and host of the news file here at Joy Samson Ladi. He says the Speaker on May 17th, 2016, singled out the RTI bill as a bill to be prioritized for passage into law in that session. The bill was only discussed twice in 3 weeks, though he had announced it will be taken on a later basis. Later, in 3 weeks, so from June 14th to June 17th, from June 21st to June 24th, and then June 27th to the 30th, and the bill was only taken twice on Thursday, June 16th and 23rd. Then he further goes on to conclude that no bill has received 2% of the scrutiny RTI has. And Daniel, it's interesting to note that it's been 22 years since the first draft of the RTI. Now, Alhaji Baumia has been speaking, Dr. Baumia has been speaking, and he says that the bill will be passed during the first meeting of the next session, which starts in January next year. Yesterday, it went onto the floor of Parliament, lasted for about an hour in the morning, and after other businesses, the House returned to it later in the afternoon. Now, what's interesting is that it was the 28th item on the schedule to be discussed yesterday, but they talked about it first. So there's been a little bit of a setback in the past few weeks, and the chairman of the Legal, Constitutional and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, Ben Abdallah Banda, has said that it was because of two things. One, they were focused on budget approval and also the passage of the appropriation bill, which would give government the authority to spend from the consolidated and other government funding. And so their priorities have kind of been shifted for a second, but their priorities have come back. They're focusing on the RTI bill. And like the Vice President has said, it should be passed by next year. Other things that happened that were very interesting: 246 million Ghana cedis approved for Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources for its programs and projects for 2019.
My concern, so yesterday I was taking a report from Gakpo from Parliament on Joy News Today, the midday news bulletin on Joy News, which I host. And Gakpo told me specifically that there were a lot of people in the House, because it was 11 a.m. There were a lot of people in the House when the RTI bill was called. By the time they had actually gotten to the amendments, there were only about 30 members of Parliament there. And so that it's even got to a point where a member got up to say, we don't have a quorum, and so let's not consider it. It's not allowed. So the Speaker called for an amendment of the House's rules to allow for them to consider it. So those members of Parliament who left, if we were doing appropriations, if we were approving loans, would they have walked out? Would they have left there? Look at the importance we give, to the extent that they were meeting on a Saturday to approve a government plan, a part of government plan in the budget.
Yeah, but to be fair, mostly appropriations are to ensure government runs in this particular case. So they will put that ahead of the RTI. The justification I'm getting from them doesn't make sense to me. See, they only had space to do that because the appropriations and the budget estimates were not available. That's what that told me. Said because they delayed in providing those ones, they then zoomed into RTI. Now, there's no fixed timing for dealing with RTI. It's when they have space and they have 10 more days to rise. So when they have space, they can deal with it. So that means that next year is obviously your
even the
perfect
11
timing.
a.m. Even the 11 a.m.
Yeah, it was because of
it wasn't deliberate.
It was accident.
And even by that accident, a large number of members of Parliament walked out.
Very good. But they have to come back when there is something that can.
It's very unfortunate.
It's how they want to treat this, and they will tell you too. Don't push us. Don't put a little pressure on us. We may pass a defective bill. Now, as we speak today, the gentleman still told me that 44%. 44
amendments.
Yeah, provisions. No, specific clauses have been dealt with. Yeah. It can be more than one amendment on a particular clause. But yes, 44 provisions and clauses have been dealt with. It's over 90. So the chunk is still yet to be done.
91, actually.
Yes. So really, the chunk is still yet to be done in this particular case. So, and if it took us like 2 years to do 44, estimate the time required to do the rest.
It's very disappointing.
Yeah,
it's very disappointing.
It tells you that they are not as serious as the people want it to be.
Maybe Ghanaians should be like these students who arrested a matron for stealing food, Raymond.
Yes, and the students, and of course, this is important for one simple reason. Recently, there's been a lot of news about students going on routes, doing bad things, but these students realized that they were being given poor food, inadequate food they felt was not nutritious enough. So they investigated on their own and realized that the food was getting missing from their setup, and they realized two things were happening. The matron drives out virtually every evening at 7 p.m. with some of the food.
7 p.m.
Yes, then another truck follows her.
Eish.
That truck also has the rest of the food in there. So they laid ambush. First,
no, so she has an entire delivery and logistical system,
yes,
and supply chain service.
Yes.
So the students of Zoko Senior High School said, we have a plan. They divided themselves into two. The first one got the matron, but she drove off with high speed. She herself, nobody driving her. She drove off with high speed, but they got the other truck. So they virtually, arrested the guy who was driving the other truck and took it to the watchman for safekeeping while they pursued the matron. Matron, they could not get her. Then they reported to the headmaster, who set a committee to deal with the matter. So when they appeared before the committee, they gave dates and times of when they felt the matron had actually driven out a lot of food. Now, the evidence they gave suggested that, huge. For example, they said the consumption that the food they were consuming the day, the matron was virtually taking half of every day's food away.
Wow.
Cooked food or raw?
No, raw food.
Wow.
So foodstuffs.
Yes, so the matron was taking half of that away, much to their detriment, because they can tell you that how they feel when they eat the food, the problems they get when they eat the food, the state of the kitchen. The matron is not concentrating on giving them the right food,
because
but
the
them away.
procurement for the foodstuffs will be done according to the number of students. And especially with with the free SHS systems, we have more numbers, so we are being more careful.
It's not
and
like
we are auditing
in the first place.
That's what we are trying to establish. It's not like we are auditing it to make sure that every student gets the amount of food they need.
So their last burst, they took 25 liters containers of vegetable oil, 25 liter containers of palm oil, and 2 mini bags of that's 50 kg of maize, and in addition to a bucket of margarine and some quantities of sugar. All of them were in the truck, not what the matron was carrying away. Now the committee has actually been set. The committee's work was to find out what really happened. They agree with the students and proceeded to say that the matron ought to be prosecuted and dealt with properly. And they have actually recommended that. For the students, they think they are doing very, very well with learning the ethics of being good Ghanaians who will not watch other people steal from the state and others their own food, but make sure that they do what is right.
You know what I was going to say when you mentioned this? When Kofi Annan was in Fansfin, he led a demonstration and was over dining whole food. So you never know the futures of these young men.
There's a history of big men. J.H. Mensah led a demonstration at the University of Ghana in Legon Hall, preferring that they build a dining hall to the chapel.
So there's a correlation between students. You see,
they fought for their
deeper,
that's what
it's deeper than you think. The basic needs of the individual.
Yes, it can drive a lot of action.
Anyway, let's also talk about people who are retrieving our money.
Yes, so Iyoko has been hard at work, and they've retrieved about 51 million Ghana cedis from some private companies who had wanted to evade tax. The executive director of Iyoko, Mr. Kwesi Amwa, has been speaking. He says that these companies between July 2017 and December 2018, even though they made a lot of returns, were trying to dodge the tax system, and especially the foreign private companies. They were being very greedy. This is according to him, and not wanting to pay tax. Now he's saying that the perception is that corruption appears to be gradually going down, but Iyoko's records are showing that it's very different, and there are individuals and institutions who continue to be involved in fraudulent activities, especially in the private sector. He's asking that the private sector demand transparency and accountability from governments, and even as they do that, they themselves should be transparent and accountable and stop trying to run away from paying taxes. That's the story on Iyoko.
Okay, so that's 51 million Ghana cedis coming into the national kitty,
yes.
which is good news all round. Raymond, let's talk about the national kitty.
Yes, we understand.
Inflation.
Yes, of course, inflation
affects the national kitty.
So it affects the amount of money you have in your pocket, what you can use your money to buy, and what satisfaction you can derive from what you bought in this particular case. So the rate at which prices are supposed to increase is on the decline. This is because, according to the statistical service, November signs shows that compared to the previous month, we've seen some 0.2 decline. We've also seen that there's been, over the year that we are dealing with, another 0.2% decline, because in October it was 9.5 and now it's 9.3. The important part of it is that food inflation on the average is 8.6. So that means that food inflation is actually on a massive decline compared to general inflation. And the general inflation is being driven more by the non-food inflation. Let me tell you the areas that we are having higher inflation also happening. Coffee, tea, and cocoa, the elements of fruits, and also meat and meat products are the ones leading the food inflation area. So there's also mineral water, soft drinks, and food contributing to. All of these are higher than the food inflation average. That means that they are the ones who are not doing very, very well. Now, other food products, including vegetables, are also making it difficult for us. Where we are performing very well is the cereals and cereal products, milk, cheese, and eggs, sugar, jam, honey, and chocolate are also doing very well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oils and fats are also doing very well when it comes to food inflation. For non-food inflation, the dangerous project is transport. Transportation is costing us a loss in this case. Recreation and culture is also costing us a loss in this case. Clothing and footwear. So your new tie, it is part of the areas that we are not.
My tie hasn't done anything. It's not even a new tie.
Oh, I'm seeing it for the first time.
Okay.
Anyway, so education, alcoholic beverages, and tobacco are below. Recently the people announced some increase in that. So apparently people are not consuming as much as are supposed to consume in that case. Health, hotels, cafe, communication, housing, water, electricity, and gas are all on the decline in this case. And these signs show you which areas you are likely to have higher prices and which areas you are likely to have lower prices.
Now, of course, inflation is rates of increase.
Yes.
So prices are still going up.
Yes, but not at the same rate.
Not at the same rate.
I wonder if that will change over Christmas, though, when we start to really buy food and stock up, and there are a lot of people coming into town, and so
Christmas has a strange behavior, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of products on the market. So products are supposed to be cheaper, but there's a lot of demand. So prices often go higher. So it has a strange behavior when it comes to pricing.
As opposed to when you're outside of Ghana and everything is on sale and everything is half price and everything.
But retailers in Ghana,
nah.
Anyway,
yeah, okay.
So you last told me about how we are retrieving 51 million. Tell me about how we are losing
$25 million. So there's been a study by Dr. Martin Williams. He's an associate professor of public administration at University of Oxford, and he's saying that we have lost 25 million between 2011 and 2013 just based on projects that are not completed. So this is equivalent to 667 additional 3-unit classroom blocks, which will accommodate 70,000 students. The thing about the unfinished projects, though, is that there's about 65% of work completed and 56% of the contract sum has been dispersed. Now, you would assume it's because of corruption. This study is showing that it's not because of corruption. That is not the reason why we're losing money and not finishing projects. It's because a lot of the district assemblies are spreading themselves too thin. So we're trying to do too many things, and we're not able to, so we're not actually able to complete.
And by doing that, we are losing more money
because we're not able to complete, and so we have a lot of projects that are not completed. And that's about it in summary.
That's actually like the mindsets that we approach most of these things with. So you look at how our oil funds are used, for instance, a lot of different projects, which we are not able to finish very quickly. Raymond, quickly, we are industrializing the economy according to the AGI.
Yes, but before I go to that, there's something that you should be interested in, particularly you and the unmarried people in this republic. Now, there's something good happening in Nigeria what you consider to be good.
Jesus
now,
Christ.
The Nigerian police has been explaining that having sex in a car is not a crime.
But Raymond, how are you including me in this? My English is not even coming.
The details. They said that it's not a crime for one to have sex in a car. It however says that you cannot have sex with a minor in your car. You cannot force anybody
have sex with a minor anywhere.
Yes. Oh, but let me finish that in there. They say you can also not doing it in a religious institution.
So you can't do it at church.
Yes.
What if you're a pastor and she's your wife?
No, still not in there.
But you can do it by the beach. Yeah.
Now, the indecent exposure rule in Nigeria does not work the way they're supposed to work. What they're saying in that country is that when it comes to Nigeria, you can't especially people like you with tinted glass,
It's okay, Raymond.
This is beginning to feel
the AGI
personal.
says we are deindustrializing the economy. That's what we want to hear
Okay,
about.
finally, because they said that regardless of the last 10 years, our manufacturing sector has not been doing well. The industrial sector is not doing well. This is because the prices are high. There are cheap imports flooding our markets. They are worried that this same thing would worry the one district, one factory. So we should be very careful about how we deal with that program.
Important. So Donald Trump tried to do that by placing tariffs on
Papaya
steel.
came to pat me on the back
For
on the
doing that
Nigeria
story.
story, not the
On the
Ghana-
Nigeria story.
Yes. I am very excited that he's equally excited about it.
This is my lead producer of the Super Morning Show, Papaya. Sorry. Okay. So I understand why you were doing it now. But we are moving on to the online news review. Yeah, the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goyle Good Energy. I don't understand what is coming over Raymond and Papaya, but we are moving on. If you buy fuel at Goyle, hurry and do so, because in the month of November alone, 720 of our customers have received their ultimate rewards from your favorite CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year, Goyle. Adipa Ofia Oye, Josh Crying of Ofanko, has received 1,000 cedis worth of fuel on his Go card for the month of November and a weekend hotel stay for 2. Many others were rewarded with 1,000 cedis worth of fuel for accruing the highest points. So collect your scratch card anytime you buy Goyle fuel, 80 cedis and above. Dial *161 *4645 hash and follow the steps. Your loyalty rewards also await you at the end of the month if you buy more fuel and accrue more points. Goyle Efie promo runs till January 2019. Terms and conditions apply. This festive season, Zenith Bank is offering you the opportunity to become part of its wonderful big family. Visit any Zenith Bank branch nationwide within the first 2 weeks of December, which is ending tomorrow, and let our able team assist you choose from an array of products and services that definitely cater to your unique banking needs. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, whether you're an individual, an SME, or a corporate entity at Zenith Bank. There is something for everyone. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. I never welcomed Drone Health Service, GMA General Secretary Dr. Justice Yangson there. MyJoyOnline.com carries that as its banner headline. AdomOnline.com says, medical drones, Imani condemns Bakker's lack of knowledge of deal. There's an audio of the sad story of a pregnant woman who was deported from Germany. BBC.com says, Brexit. Hey, so Theresa May has survived. She has survived the no confidence.
Yes.
She has survived the no confidence.
Survived. She's a survivor.
Yeah, she's a survivor. But she says she's to join the EU summit now that she has survived the vote. A lot of things happening in England. You may want to keep your eye on that,
including
and we will be keeping you
50%
informed.
sales on a lot of products like Toblerone.
Okay, maybe the BBC News would have details of all of that. It's coming up now.
Kwame's life before Interplast in Green Irrigation System.